Hi, it's Andrew from Empiric. I'm the director of the European Technology Division in London. I'm responsible for a number of our technology areas. Today, we've got another Empiric video insight series where we sit down and discuss with key experts across our specialities that we recruit for to hear their guidance and perspective on current influences shaping our industry. Today, I'm joined by Kathrin, who I'll let introduce herself.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation. About myself, I have one day job, but actually four hats, and I get paid for one and a half, as I like to say. Uh, I'm Cognizant's chief data scientist and a artificial intelligence and data director for the global growth markets, which means it's Europe with Middle East, and I'm based then on the DACH region in Zurich, Switzerland. Also, my second job is in some other way less than my day job, but still as important. I'm a professor for AI applied to business at the Swiss School of Business and Management of Geneva. I also hold different advisory and board memberships with different companies related to data and AI. And also, I'm a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council for Data Frontiers on generative AI and AI. And it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Many people feel that AI isn't truly delivering on their promises at the moment, and often seen as kind of a cost-cutting tool and for efficiency. What do you see as the main reasons behind this skepticism, and how can organizations ensure that AI delivers real and lasting value?
Excellent question. The number one thing is that people are expecting from what would be then generic systems to already concur and be able then to deliver an expected efficiency that has not been very much defined into detail. So what happens is through the big huge hype that generative AI has caused, if we see then transformer programs, as in the case of ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, that has just created a huge democratization of AI, and people just without any training at all been able then to let's say juice out something out of it, be it for their own internal performance or just out of for fun, but with no direct or specific business case to that. So there are the typical cases for that, from chatting with data or let's say summarizing text, creating a particular insights, but moving out from let's say the chat body type of let's say related functions. Companies have not come up into really think, well, how can I tap from this new type of what would be AI technology or even the existing technology, something directly related to saving or let's say bringing me business value. Yeah, so it is that lack of mapping with strategy and business goals, and secondary thinking about the technology to resolve that, that is creating that disconnect. So that's where companies need to go and align their business strategy with their data and AI strategy, and then choose the right technology to solve those problems in a particular given roadmap. That means the timing when and also the KPIs for ROI. Yeah, so if let's say I'm going to create a chat with my data on what I've got in SharePoint, are my teams finding the documentation that they store there a couple of months fast enough? Well, what is fast enough? Do you mean that on the project, if they're, let's say, preparing for an audit, do they want to prepare for an audit within days instead of weeks? That means saving then a team of 10 already 400 hours. Imagine for an FT in the UK what that means. Then, tool is really giving you the ROI if it just costs a third of that. In not just in its development, but also in its infrastructure and maintenance costs. So that is one of my suggestions.
Yeah. And what are the kind of key factors that businesses must align with, whether that's kind of strategy, goals, tools, to not only kind of implement AI successfully, but also to sort of drive profitability in a sustainable way?
Well, I just think about it into a very, very small framework. So the number one is the people factor. A lot of companies are forgetting that they have to retrain their workforce. Everyone has to be
Mm,
reskilled in matters of AI and data, from the CEO into everyone, even someone's secretary, which actually could find a lot of usability, for example, of transformer models. So from that perspective, it's the human centricity that needs to be there. So is it what I call then age. The secondary, but
mm,
still as important, is again what I call then the business alignment, the market and alignment. Yeah, so that is one area that allows you to see, well, where does it make sense to use AI, not to use it for the sake of it's a trend, everyone is doing it, fear of left behind, but strategically putting it to bring a business value. And then third is on the particular costs. Yeah, so if you're going to invest in AI and also in reskilling your employees into AI or data, well, by when do you want to see the results? Yeah, is it within 3 months, 6 months, depending on your company size, depending on if you have a product or a service. So you have to put a timestamp on it, not just to pressure anyone, but also then to ensure that there is no lag. And whenever you have to prepare something on a roadmap, it forces you to have a detailed strategical plan and also to create the work breakdown structure for that. And fourth and last but not least is choosing the right technology. And I see that some companies just simply follow the trend and then just select some software package because it was very cool, or some other company just simply mentioned it a lot, or the vendor proposed,
mm.
yeah, that it was going to be the alpha and omega for all their answers. And there was, let's say, a political or emotional choice instead of an alignment choice with the other three factors.
Mm. Yeah, so it's really aligning those kind of four factors together is kind of
Correct.
the key to making it a success. Okay.
Yes.
And I think when we've kind of spoken previously, you mentioned that you talked about some of the kind of limitations for AI in terms of kind of the reasoning. I mean, what does that mean for organizations sort of planning their technology strategies in 2025? So kind of not, where AI is in the future, but kind of where we are today. How are those how do those limitations impact kind of planning?
Well, the limitation goes into number one, the talent and the budget that I have. Yeah, so those are the most obvious, but also into the, let's say, particularly core areas of the business. So let's say if I am a human sourcing company in which I am just
Mm,
looking for talent, and how can I use AI to so number one is, of course, you can use transformers again to scan and CVs, but you can also use GANs in order then to generate what would be some advertisements, some videos, create reels in order then to bring and grab attention, not just from clients, but also from that talent that you're searching for. So in that case, then you see, well, and then you give yourself, again, as I mentioned before, a time and a budget. And then you say, well, I want to do this for less than £10,000, and I want to be able to see
mm,
results within 3 months. That means for if I start in Q3, then by let's say mid-side of Q4, I already want to see the traction. And that traction means that I can measure the number of CVs coming, the number of, let's say, acquisitions that are targeting, and you can use, for example, agentic AI to generate leads, contacting the right people or generating that what would be those emails, on following up. So then you see that in within that really small investment, because you have well-defined goals, align with your business case and align with, okay, well, we're a team of 10. It allows you then to see how you have a direct implementation plan. And then you can go for the technology. Do you want to use something that it's very customized to you? Well, I would be using then a no-code application like Lovable that 100% creates, for example, that lead generator for you. That's 100% customized for
mm,
you and still still within your budget, or if you want for something more sophisticated and you wanted to integrate it with, for example, Outlook or whatever tool you're using for that, then you would need to use, for example, a low-code application. But GitHub from Microsoft, that it already has a deployment integration directly into Outlook or Teams, for example. So it's again going into those four areas of the framework that I mentioned.
Yeah, and so yeah, you kind of mentioned some of the impacts of kind of AI then in, you know, in terms of human capital and in terms of kind of that job market. As a recruitment business, we see that, you know, the technology is moving very quickly, and you've kind of got this, you know, developments around kind of vibe coding, which kind of raises questions about that kind of future of traditional computer science. I mean, how do you see the landscape of technical skills and kind of in-demand skills evolving?
Well, number one, if you look at the WEF Future Jobs Report that's just been recently published, it's
Mm,
all going into a direct cohesion into human-centered AI, human-centered data, human type of what would be empathetic collaboration, talent management, and skills. That means that anyone company wants to be hiring in order to be very successful has to have people that are, number one, happy with learning, happy with reskilling
mm,
themselves. That before, my job description was static and maybe it would stay like that for a couple of years, and now it's actually
mm,
something that is pretty dynamic because it's what must align with strategic goals and tools just as the disruption in the market is happening. So I want to ensure as a company that I drive profitability in a sustainable way. And that means that I not always have to, let's say, hire hundreds and hundreds of people, but hire the right talent that's aligned to what I want to reach to be successful. So if there's a misalignment
mm,
on the primary reason, let's say I just hire AI people, but I don't give them something strategically given on the way
mm,
down to resolve for me, then even I have the choice of the best people, yeah, it's not going to bring me profitability, it's not going to make my company successful. So it is very
mm,
important that talent acquisition and management is directly translated from the hierarchy of strategical goals and also what would be the market strategy, align with the understanding of this, let's say, constant, let's say, change that we see, yeah, through technology moving so fast.
mm. Yeah, well, really, really interesting. And kind of, I know you've talked about kind of AI kind of democratizing access to advanced tools and knowledge, but also the kind of AI divide. How do you think the AI community can kind of open doors for women in diverse talent and kind of increase representation and leadership, both across kind of technical and executive levels?
Oh, that is very, very good you asked this question because the new skills that are needed in the next 5 to 10 years, they're very much what I like to call them feminine type skills. So by that I mean
Mm,
that we're very much for uh, working together and collaborating for the good of all. That means nurturing relationships, ensuring that there is a community, yeah, and that we're, you would say there is a team one, as we say then at Cognizant. There is a better way of what would be sharing and democratizing skills. So that means that here companies then can profit from skills divide and again come again together. Yeah, so through this, let's say community collaboration, even can be hybrid or can be completely online or can be on site. It allows them to have and build what would be a much more let's say, feminine type of leadership, which is very similar to Scrum, which is servant leadership. How can I solve your problems?
mm,
Yeah, how can I ensure that the team gets everything across? Yeah, and then and that the leader is there to be a problem solver, to consciously be a coach, to consciously bring the team to reflect down on their own experiences and biases, and then from here, yeah, come up about into maintaining what would be then a culture of growth, yeah, and not a culture of competition that goes at the expense of a successful project or venture. So this is, you see
mm,
here that it's pretty much of what you do when you're a mom. Like in my case, that you try to understand where let's say your child is coming, or in this case, understand where the team is coming. But then you need to see the bigger picture. You need to align them to, well, what is the goal that I want to do in racing, or what is the business goal that I have, that even though my team is very stark on the technical, yeah, I am as a leader representing what would be the executive level, the business case, the particularly profitability revenue numbers. So I need to bring this to an alignment. So let's say a female type of leadership brings on what would be this collaborative, but also systemic action.
mm. Yeah, fantastic and really interesting as well. And I know with the work that you've been doing at, for example, like the World Economic Forum and other kind of academic and in industry groups, you're very involved in kind of that global conversation around how AI leadership and kind of ethical innovation is evolving. I mean, can you kind of talk to that point?
Yeah, so I think that when we see then the one of the challenges that big corporations have, or even a small company that also wants to act global, is that depending on the geopolitical entanglement, and we've seen it through, unfortunately, the situation on, let's say, wars, and let's say the particular
Mm,
economical impacts that happens. So I saw it directly when the war in Ukraine started, whilst I was living in Germany. My previous employer was, I worked for the automotive industry for 23 years, but it was directly impacted.
mm,
Yeah, so we have then to stop doing business with Russia. All the plants had to close. So then, as you see there,
mm,
the practicalities of economy were killed immediately by direct political policy. So the important things that we talk in the forum is that, okay, well, there has to be an accountability on the business ethics, and also of course a transparency, and have a conversation about why we're doing this. And in this case, for example, it's a very difficult task, yeah, in that you already personalize something, you already brought something to the market, and you have to close it down, yeah, from 1 week to
mm,
the next. So it's affecting then billions on what would be the revenue, but also on the work model, yeah, that some of the people in your company, it's in a different location. We were mostly then in Germany, but they all had to be transitioned, from 1 week to the next into doing something else. So how do you create then in that case then a transitional model, or in the other way around, what's happening right now with the tariffs, yeah, from
yeah.
the USA, from the Trump administration in direction to Europe, and worldwide other areas. But in the case then of Europe, we see that, well, a company and anyone exporting any kind of products to the USA has to conduct a legally robust audit, and even that audit be it on services, or even that be on product. So if what you're creating is a product, as an AI or a software system, for example,
Mm,
that means that you need to create something that can emerge and still become profitable across all these new regulatory frameworks. And in
mm,
that case, what would be the tariffs frameworks? So what is, it could be, what would be then the end of the story? So how can you be able to work on that? Could be something as simple as to say, well, I open a small company or a subsidiary in the USA, yeah, in a competitive state, yeah, that
mm,
has a lower income tax, etc., so that then this geopolitical entanglement for the tariffs can be addressed, that whatever is for the local market in USA is given there, and then you, let's say you jump that particular tariff, but still maybe gain through that market driven change a new type of innovation. So then you can thrive even though there is a particular challenge, and then see, well, through this innovation focused approach in the US, yeah, in that you say, well, it's regulation first,
mm,
is let's say very much state driven. There's a particular surveillance by the US government. Well, something I have to do anyways in the EU. Yeah, there's the EU AI Act. Yeah, so what is what you
Yeah.
gain from the processes, the methods, and the toolings on doing this in the USA that you can carry on. So in a way, let's say the important thing is recognizing which areas are specific to our context, and which in order to solve that particular problem, and which areas are something that you can reuse, yeah, that can solve similar problems, yeah, and that allows you then to tailor them and then become a governance approach for your company. So that's why then in the web we also create what would be these guidelines, yeah, that are there are frameworks that allow you then to come up with what would be then a direct application in a company.
Mm. Yeah. Really interesting sort of insight there. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered in this conversation so far?
Oh, final thoughts. Well, I think that because we have our discussion on strategy, technology, policy, and I think that
Mm.
it's vital to remember that artificial intelligence now has to become something fundamental humanistic, and also on the particulars of data. And what a lot of people don't know is that they think that if I train the model with my data, then that data is going to just be inherent into it. Some people call it when ingredients get baked down a cake. Yeah, so if you given, for example,
Mm.
your sugar and your eggs in a cake, that you can no longer retrieve them back into the same status that they were before.
Mm.
But actually, you can do that with data. Yeah, so there's a new change in the technology that you say, well, I want to have the control of what happens with my data, be it structure, unstructure, be it my pictures that I put on social media, be it the text that I put on social media, be it very private data, for example, my financial data, and and that is one thing that this is not just a purely technical task. And also there's a fear about what will happen with my data, for example, in the
Mm.
DACH region where I'm based. So
Mm.
here is a great opportunity for anyone that is coming from what would be behavioral sciences or from psychology or discipline or any of these new disciplines like ethicists for responsible AI to work together with us engineers and data scientists to create what would be more robust safeguards and then emerge and create new innovations in this, because it's just simply that the change and the speed of innovations is just simply too powerful, and the area that we want to protect our data and to ensure responsible AI is too important to be left to just one single area.
Yeah, I think it's you make a lot of really interesting kind of points, and obviously, underpinned by a lot of experience in different types of organisation, different types of sort of conversations. So I think it's really interesting there, and I think the things that I'm kind of taking from it and that I've learned from it is that kind of framework for processes, even when we think about our own business and how do we implement AI. And obviously we're a staffing business that supports businesses across Europe and North America, is that kind of human element as being such an important part that it's not just kind of that you can kind of cut and paste AI and that's going to solve all the problems, but that you really need to understand the kind of business context. You really need to understand the human context behind that as well. So I think it's a really kind of interesting points that you've made there, and will be so useful for other individuals that are kind of thinking about this journey and thinking in their own businesses and at their own organizations. What does that kind of AI implementation look like? How should that be structured, and to ensure that they get kind of the full value from those kind of tools that we're seeing kind of seemingly popping up every day to make to kind of make our lives easier. So really interesting to speak, Kathrin. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think that I thank you very much for the invitation, and it's been actually a very, very great chat with you. Thank you for it.
Thanks so much for speaking, Kathrin. I'm sure anyone that's kind of interested to hear more can connect to you on LinkedIn or kind of follow you. I know you're kind of working on a number of speaking engagements as well. So really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. Hopefully a lot of valuable lessons there for individuals. And yeah, look forward to seeing how the space develops over the next few years.